Welcome to the Roc'N Recovery Talk Show.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's show of Roc'N Recovery. My name is Carol Michelle, and today I have a special guest on the show, Yana Khasper.
Hi everyone, I'm glad to be here.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And for those of you who don't know, Yana is Executive Director of Rocovery Fitness and also founder. Is that right? Co-founder? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about Rocovery Fitness?
Sure. Rocovery Fitness is a nonprofit. We're a peer-led, sober, active community based out of Rochester. And we're really a place of healing, growth, recovery for those that have substance use disorder, family members, friends. We offer free programming to anyone with a minimum of 48 hours of continuous sobriety or abstinence for those that aren't in recovery or don't have a substance use disorder. We have everything from an outdoor program where we hike and kayak and bike ride. We go to the Adirondacks. We were just there this weekend climbing some high peaks. We have an outreach center, a sober gym, and we have classes, yoga, mutual aid groups, support groups, strength training. Everything you could think of, anything and everything. We have Reiki is another great asset.
Wow. It sounds like fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. This is all simple. Recovery stuff? And it's fun.
Yeah. It's a really simple concept, like exercise, wellness is good for you, nutrition is good for you, like all these things we know. And peer support has been incredibly effective from deinstitutionalization. It's been used in the mental health world for decades, and it's really new to the addiction recovery world, and there's so much research out there that says basic things like exercise is good for you. But the bigger piece is the research shows specifically group exercise or group activities really improve abstinence rates. They help ease anxiety, they help with withdrawal symptoms, and it's really that power of community that binds us.
I like that. It's that sense of connection, right? So you're not isolated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to go to a break, but we'll be right back. Hi, everybody, and thanks for staying with us on Roc'N Recovery. I'm still here with my friend Yana. And we've been talking about Rocovery Fitness, which is an amazing organization in Rochester.
Thank you.
Now, you're a person in recovery. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Sure. My journey started like many people, that share their story of recovery. I started to experiment with alcohol as a young teen. It wasn't like I experimented at 12 years old and I was a daily drinker. It was more my friends and I kind of sneaking into our parents' liquor cabinet, having a few drinks, kind of normal things, things that other kids were doing. And around that time I got more into marijuana and other things, and sort of my disease progressed over time, as it does with many of us. It looked kind of good on the outside for a while. I went to school, I didn't get in trouble. I did okay. I didn't flunk out. I wasn't super smart. It was just sort of kind of baseline in the middle. But drugs and alcohol became more and more a greater part of my life and more important to me. And I say important because it's from someone that doesn't have a substance use disorder and someone that's not affected, which is pretty rare these days. When it was fun until it wasn't. It wasn't something that brought me joy towards the end of my addiction. It was more that I didn't quite have the coping skills, the tools to kind of get through day to day. And it was really learned for me. I saw other people celebrating life by having a few drinks, or or having a bad day and having a few drinks. So I learned that alcohol and then eventually drugs helped me to deal with the happy times, the sad times, the breakups, these like everyday ordinary sort of events, happenings, you know, that I just didn't have the ability to cope with. And I continue, you know, my friends use drugs and alcohol like similar to the way I did, so it was sort of normal. You know, I didn't think there was anything wrong. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't getting in trouble. And I continue on this sort of seemingly normal path, you know, and I don't like using that word, but that's the best thing that came to mind to describe it. I went on to college, actually went to grad school as well, and I got my degree, but all the while addiction helped me to get through grad school, which sounds so bizarre, but that was the way I was able to function. You know, that was the way I was able to attend classes and study, and it was a really sad existence, but it's the only existence I knew at the time.
So the addiction ends up becoming like your crutch, and it's your go-to thing in order to cope with just day-to-day life circumstances.
Yeah. It was, you know, the way I got through. Basically, I got by in life. But then late 20s, it kind of took a turn. You know, I was losing control. I was no longer able to manage. I was no longer really able to keep a job. I started to, I've had multiple arrests on drunk driving arrests over the course of a really short period of time, you know, and I always credit law enforcement for saving my life, because had I not gotten stopped, had I not gotten arrested, had I not faced those consequences, I don't know that there was anything that was going to get me to stop otherwise. You know, I didn't see drugs and alcohol as my problem. It was this really strong disconnect from reality, where I knew I had a problem with life. I knew I was depressed. I knew I was sad. I knew I was hopeless, but I couldn't put two and two together that, you know, all these things happening in my life, and, you know, just the person I had become was as a result of substance use disorder. So it wasn't until there was police intervention, I like to say it that way, that I entered recovery through a treatment center. And I did inpatient, I did outpatient. Mutual aid groups are part of my recovery journey also. And it's been an incredible life thus far.
You know, we talk about, you know, like the thing that makes us stop and that kind of stuff. And lots of times it's the consequences that all of a sudden we open our eyes to the consequences. Because I know that when I was using, the drugs and the alcohol were the answer to the problems, right? And it never occurred to me that could be the source of the problem that I was going through.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
I could definitely identify with that. And I think those consequences come in all different shapes and sizes. You know, for someone it's an arrest, for someone it's homelessness, but for others it's, you know, just a feeling of hopelessness. You know, you sort of don't have to go to those extremes to enter recovery and to feel the pain of those consequences. It looks different from all of us, for all of us.
Yeah, and I think right now, like, one of the things that I hear a lot of people arguing against is when people say, I hit my bottom. And to me, I'm comfortable with that phrase, because your bottom is wherever you choose it to be. It doesn't have to be a certain thing. It doesn't have to be jails, like you said, or homelessness. For me, I know it. I had money in the bank when I stopped using. I didn't have any severe consequences other than I hated myself, you know, and I hated the way I was using, and my relationships were gone. So it was like an emotional, spiritual bottom for me, not so much like a physical consequences, the physical stuff. So, yeah, so all of a sudden then you said, okay, I'm going to stop, and you stopped? I mean, like...
Sort of, yes and no. The court systems said I had to stop.
Okay.
And like I said, I went to treatment. I did the best that I could. You know, I kind of had this feeling that we talked about it earlier a little bit. Life was hopeless. I was never going to have fun. I was never going to laugh. There was not going to be any joy or meaning in my life. It was just going to be this sad existence, because now, you know, it took away my best friend. It took away the only thing I had, my solution to, my day-to-day life. So I was just raw and emotional and in so much pain, not knowing that it does get better, not knowing that I had a disease, a neurological condition, and this is why a lot of these things were happening. I did have a relapse about 11 or so months into my recovery, and I continued on in my journey. It was, and yeah, it's been over 5.5 years.
Yay! It's a lot of days.
It's a lot of days.
It's awesome.
And I'm human. I'm no different than anyone else. I think sometimes these kind of recovery all-stars, right? Like people in the community were really put on a pedestal, and sometimes that affects recovery because, for me, for a long time I felt like I had to be a certain way. I couldn't, everything had to be perfect, everything had to look perfect, but I'm just like everyone else, I'm no different, I'm human. I make mistakes and some days are harder than others, but overall life is, it's just so beautiful, it's just so purposeful. And it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. You know what I love about you is your recovery shows right here. Yeah, you can see it. You can see like the joy, behind your eyes. So I think that's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So if you were, gonna say something to somebody who's maybe on the cusp of wanting to stop using, but they're not really sure if they want to, what would you tell them about what a recovery life looks like?
Yeah, I think I would say give it a try. We know exactly what our past lives look like. We know we could always go back. We could always have that back, but kind of step out into faith and give it a shot. See that it could be fun. See that there could be so much richness and fullness in life. I mentioned to you earlier also, I believe that once we enter recovery, we can do anything. We could be anyone. The sky's the limit. It's really, the possibilities are endless. There's just so much out there.
Yes. Well, we're going to go to a break, Yana, but we'll be right back, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Roc'N Recovery. Me and Yana have been talking, girl talk, all about recovery stuff, and I was hoping you could let us know what is going on at Rocovery Fitness.
Absolutely. So Rocovery Fitness has been around 5 years now. We've been a nonprofit for 5 years, and for the first 2 years we were outdoor based. So we started with a simple hike, kind of not thinking, not planning, not knowing it was going to turn into anything. And we just sort of grew from there. We had a great time on this one little hike, and someone asked if we could do it again the following week. And lo and behold, that was the beginning of Rocovery Fitness and our weekly hikes, and the weather got better, so we started kayaking and bike rides and park workouts. We started working with local yoga studios and gyms to see about offering free classes to our community. We just really organically grew into this thing, this kind of entity. And after 2 years of being outdoor based, we were approached by a woman that had suffered lost her son to a drug and alcohol, that had lost her son to a heroin and fentanyl overdose. And she wanted to give back. And she asked us what was our need, what did we want? And really, the pie in the sky was we wanted a place where people could go 7 days a week to be around like-minded individuals and engage around health and wellness. In those winter months when our programs were limited, people don't really want to go outdoors a whole lot. Some do, but not everyone, when it's like negative whatever. And we started to experience losses in our community, so we knew that was the next step for us. And so she actually sought out and purchased this building, our Rocovery Outreach Center, which is a firehouse that was built in 1910. And she donated the building to Rocovery Fitness. And we created a sober clubhouse and wellness center Right on Dewey, 1035 Dewey Avenue by Aquinas, across from 7 School, for those that are familiar with the neighborhood. And we have something 7 days a week, and it's all levels of fitness, and you don't have to be an athlete, and you don't have to even engage in fitness. You could come in, have a cup of coffee. We're volunteer-based, volunteer-led, essentially. So the front desk, the center, is operated by our incredible volunteer force. So when you come in, you're just greeted by a whole bunch of smiling faces. You get a tour, take a look around. We have morning hours, we have evening hours, weekend hours as well. Anything from classes throughout the week, boxing and conditioning. We have yoga, strength training, high intensity classes, boot camp on Saturday, which is super popular, run by our very own Brian Quinn, who's our all-star. We have yoga, 12-step recovery also, which is a 45-minute 12-step mutual aid meeting, followed by a 45-minute yoga practice that really relates and ties back to the conversation, to keep sort of that energy and the conversation flowing through, kind of mind, body, and spirit. We have Heroin Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Refuge Recovery, Smart Recovery meetings. So really multiple pathways to recovery. We have a support group for moms affected by their child's addiction that meets twice a month, and they're an incredible group. We recently started a group, this incredible gentleman, Jeff, came up to us and wanted to start a group for men, and it's called Visible Man. And it's really, I wouldn't call it a support group, but it's a way for men to get together. His meetings are once a month, and really engage and connect with one another. Historically, men don't always talk about their feelings or their experiences. A lot of times those things are discounted, or sort of the stereotype of men are strong and they don't, struggle or suffer from whatever. So this is a way that they guys can get together, play some pool, ping pong. We have darts, and just connect.
I love that. That's fantastic. Now, I've been to your location.
Yeah.
It is amazing. A beautiful building, very welcoming, Sometimes there's a dog running around or two.
Yes, one or two. I have dogs I love them to pieces, but I'd say they have special needs all around. But they're mine, and they're great.
It's a very nice place to go. Now, it's open in the mornings? What time does it open in the morning?
So our entire schedule and calendar of events is on our website, and it's www.rocoveryfitness.org. And our hours are 8 to 1, Monday through Saturday, and 4 to 7, Monday through Thursday. And then we have other happenings like yoga of 12-step recovery on Sundays. We have mutual aid groups in the evening. So the best bet is to go on our website and take a peek at all the classes and all that stuff. We also have a Southern Tier chapter, Rocovery Southern Tier, out of Dansville.
Nice.
It's been going on about a year. That's doing so well, and that information's on the website at all. And we're also branching out to Watertown, and starting to do some really exciting things. We have a snowshoeing and cross-country skiing event coming up, and fitness classes. So that's all on the site as well.
Okay, and you don't have to be really good at snowshoeing. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, snowshoeing. It's a lot of.
What is snowshoeing?
It's snowshoes are these kind of like long shoes.
Okay.
So you put your foot into this sort of oval thing. I'm like the worst at explaining this. And then you walk on top of snow, so you don't sink in all the way. You're not like post-holing, and you kind of.
Really?
Snow.
That
Yeah.
sounds fun.
It's a lot of fun, and that's a great point. You don't have to be, but most of the stuff we do, everything we do really can be tailored to meet the needs of the folks that come. So whether you're a beginner to athlete, everything is sort of adjusted to the individual. So you could have never ever snowshoed in your life, which I had not snowshoed or cross-country skied until about a year and a half ago. That was my first go with it. I am clumsy, so I fell a lot, but other people did really well.
It sounds so fun. And I know my daughter's been on some hikes with you
Yeah,
guys. And,
Farley, yep, she's come to the Adirondacks. She came out to Syracuse. She's
yes, awesome. Now, if you don't know anybody and you want to be a part of it, is it okay to go by yourself, or are people friendly for the most part? Or?
People are super friendly. It is the only requirement to participate is a minimum of 48 hours of continuous sobriety or abstinence, and all of our programs are free. So there's not membership fees, there aren't dues, there's no contract to sign, you don't need a referral, you just walk in. You know, we have our membership questionnaires right on our website, and you could do it ahead of time, or you can come into the center. We have tablets, you fill it out, really basic. It's an honor system. There's no drug testing or breathalyzers, nothing like that. It's really about building community and building connection. So, anyone could come in and stop by and
that's fantastic.
Become part of the family.
I love it. Okay, we're going to go to a break, but we'll be right back. Everybody, and welcome back to Roc'N Recovery. Now, Rocovery Fitness, we were talking earlier about some peer support things that are going on with that. Can you tell our audience a little about that, Yana?
Absolutely. We received a system transformation grant from FLIPS, Finger Lake Performing Provider System, and it's an incredibly exciting opportunity for us, where we're able to actually hire outreach and engagement specialists, so individuals with lived experience, and place them into these kind of non-traditional settings, so primary care systems, the justice system, and it really allows for kind of wraparound care. You know, so if someone is in need of a primary care doctor, or someone's coming out of jail, we have that one person that could sort of, their person that could follow them through that process and help connect them to those avenues, or just really be a support, whether or not the individual's ready for recovery. Even if it's something, you know, they were curious about, and sort of plant the seed. And there's this home base, which is Rocovery, where the person knows they could come back to no matter what, you know, and there's not this intake or referral or any of that. It's just community. So that's a pretty great program that just started.
So it's like a one-on-one support person, right?
Yeah, it's not counseling, it's not like sponsor for a 12-step meeting, it's not clinical in nature. It's really more of about building connections, about helping folks get through that whole, on their journey of recovery, essentially, and navigate those pieces.
I think that's so important, being able to talk to somebody who understands what you're going through, number one. Maybe you want to ask a question, but you don't want to ask the doctor or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you can get that information from somebody who's like a peer, somebody on your level.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no, you know, with anything we do, there's never any shame, there's never any stigma. It's just unconditional acceptance and support. You know, there's absolutely no shame in asking for help, as you know, and there's no shame in having substance use disorder, both for the individuals and the families that are impacted. It's really just about community and building those connections and growth.
Love it. And it is, the recovery life is a wonderful life.
It is,
right?
It sure is. Yeah.
Every day isn't like, oh no, it's a punishment. Did you wake up this morning and say, I can't drink, I'm so disappointed? No.
It really is just a very rich and fulfilling life. You know, there's challenges, there's some darker days, but isn't that the human condition? You know, we're not, when you enter recovery, it's not like everything is wonderful, perfect, because that's not real life for anyone.
Yeah.
So it's just dealing with the ups and downs, but it's not daunting, it's not horrible, it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much joy and excitement to be had.
Right. Now, do you think that having peers helped you in your recovery to develop new coping skills?
Yeah, definitely. I think those that have lived experience, there were people I looked up to, there were people that guided me on my journey. That was really important for me in my recovery.
Wonderful. And you've got over 5 years now.
Yeah.
Amazing.
5 years, 5.5. Yeah, thanks.
So if somebody wants to make a donation to Rocovery Fitness, how can they do that?
Great, yeah, that's a great point. We are privately funded, essentially, donations, grants, and the best way is, there's a number of ways. Through our website, www.rocoveryfitness.com, come into the center. You could do it through our Facebook page, Rocovery Fitness. There's a donate button. Let's see, yeah, I think those are the best ways, through the website, Facebook, or stop by the center.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being on the show, Yana.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, we'll see you next week on Roc'N Recovery. Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to be trained in Narcan, give us a call at 585-944-4270.